What is up, everybody? Welcome to the show. This episode marks the end of season 1. 30 episodes, 30 guests, 30 great conversations. I hope you love it. I hope you took a lot of information from it. I personally did. I also got a lot of inspiration out of it for myself. So happy that we can do this, have these awesome conversations, and hopefully inspire you and give you some new tips and tricks. So we are getting ready for season 2. It's gonna be coming at you soon. But for now, this episode is a compilation of some moments that we really love from this year. So thank you so much for all your love and support and for listening this year. Please hit me on Instagram or anywhere on the Jamcard app with any sort of feedback or ideas or who you'd want to see in the show, or write comments, YouTube, wherever you're listening, because I want to hear and keep this as a conversation. So if you haven't, please subscribe wherever you listen to this podcast. And if you would leave a review, that would be really, really helpful. So thank you so much. Much love. Let's go.
Go. Let's go.
This is Jimmy Jam. It's really interesting because I feel like so many people, especially in LA, or maybe it's a big city thing, but they have the "we've made it" mentality, even if they haven't made it and they're on their way there and they're faking it until they make it.
Right.
Do you think that the "we made it" mentality actually holds you back?
We just never felt that. Even I was talking to somebody the other day about, they were like Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Don't you feel you made it? And I'm like, no, I feel like that is, when we get an award like that, I feel like that means we got to prove we really deserve that award. And if anything, it's a platform to try to do more things. Our purpose is to leave music in a better place. That's our overall purpose. We don't know exactly what that means or what that looks like, but we know that that's our purpose. That's our mission statement, or whatever you want to call it. How we go about doing it is the interesting thing. And that's why you wake up every day. And I feel like when we wake up every day, it's like a chance to do something, to create a song, to create a memory, to put a smile on somebody's faces. Like, that's the way we look at it when we wake up.
Yeah.
And that's, I don't know, it's such a blessing to be able to do that. We tell people that we've never had an argument. And people go, what do you mean how could that happen? You never had an argument. I said, and I always articulate it like this. An argument is something you're trying to win. So if I win an argument against Terry, that means he loses. And why would I want my partner to lose at anything, particularly something that I'm involved with? But if you change the idea of an argument, something you're trying to win, to a disagreement is something you're trying to solve. So if you have two different points of view, but you're trying to get to a conclusion or get to to the best way, then to me, it's not about whether it's my way or his way. It's about what's the best way to get there. So I think in that case, I think it's kind of not, if you agree on what the destination is, you agree with where you're trying to go. Usually the disagreement is how you get there.
With Janet, what is it like to create such a special bond with an artist?
The trust factor is so important. I think the thing that when people think about record production, for instance, I think the thing you think about is, equipment choices, or, you think about the technical side of things. I think what's much, I won't say more important, but goes hand in hand with that is the psychology of it, the psychiatry of it, the therapy of it. Because in order to get that best performance out of someone, which is to me the mark of any great producer, is to draw a great performance out of someone. When we started off with Janet, and I always talk about foundation, the foundation with Janet and us was, she came to Minneapolis, and for 4 or 5 days, we didn't even go to the studio. We rode around the lakes, we went to movies, we went to the clubs, we hung out. And then she said, when are we going to start working? And we said, oh, we're working. And we showed her the opening lyrics to Control.
Wow.
As she's writing about this, taking control of her life, she's actually living a life of self-sufficiency.
Yeah.
Where she has to get herself around. She has to drive herself places. She has to get herself out of, Nasty came because we were at the club and these guys were, talking to her very nastily, and she didn't like it. And people were saying to us, why don't you go over and help her? And we're like, well, we'll keep an eye on her, but she'll figure it out.
Yeah, we're writing a song right now as we're...
Yeah, exactly. So that was kind of the thing. And so it's a relationship that's grown to, she's the godmother of my oldest son.
Amazing.
Our relationship is amazing.
You're probably the one rare person where both Janet and Michael trusted your opinion.
Yes. I guess so.
Okay, so you make Scream and Runaway in Minneapolis. Janet and Michael are there, but they're you just did the tracks. Right?
Just did the track.
Without them there.
Yeah, we did. So we had Janet come up, and then the idea was we went to New York after, because Michael was in New York.
Got it.
So we flew to New York.
Janet came up for the vibe for you to make
those tracks. She came for the vibe.
Yeah.
We go to New York. We go to Hit Factory, was called Hit Factory.
Yep.
And we had, I think at that time, 6 tracks, I want to say, or 6 or 7 tracks that we had. And Michael just said, okay, play me what you got. And we played all the tracks. And then, and he played them loud. If it was 10, it wasn't 11, it was like 15.
Wow.
Like it was so loud. I couldn't figure out how he was hearing stuff. Anyway, when all the tracks went off, he just kind of, he was so quiet, and he just kind of said, okay, those are really good. Can we just hear number 2 and number 5? It's like, cool. So the 2 and 5 were Runaway and Scream. Yeah. And anyway, we listened to both of them again a couple times. And he said, okay. He said, I think I really like this one here. And it was the one that was Scream. And Janet just looked at me and said, and I said, yeah.
Told you so.
You were right. Told you so.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then did you immediately that night start cutting vocals?
The next day we went to his apartment, or his condo or whatever it was, actually in Trump Tower. And very interesting.
Yeah.
And so we went to his place, and he had the track. He already had kind of the skeleton of what vocally he wanted it to be. And so I don't know if you've seen the Janet documentary, but in the Janet documentary, there is some footage of in his apartment and them working on it together. I think I was actually maybe filming that.
Really?
I might have been filming that at that point in time. Yeah. Because I would always get a camera handed to me back in that day, and they would just go, just capture, because they didn't want to have cameramen and all that kind of stuff. It was still
ruin the vibe. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So a lot of that stuff was always kind of self-done.
Wow.
But that was the vibe, and we got it to that point. So then the studio part was the funny part was, so he had just gotten married to Lisa Marie at that point. And I remember my wife, who's also named Lisa, they were having a conversation, and I remember she asked Lisa Marie, what is it that you saw in Michael? And I remember her saying he was the kindest person that she had ever met.
Wow.
And that resonated with me, because that's what I thought of Michael in being around him.
Yeah.
He was so kind. He was so compassionate and so kind. And I got why that would be attractive, particularly to somebody who grew up, with the glare of the spotlight and all of those types of things.
Yeah.
Why someone that would have that in common and find that as a bonding thing. The funny part, of course, was when Michael comes in to sing, and he's wearing jangle jangle stuff and breaking all the studio rules, right? And he comes in all kind of mild. And the idea is, we're in New York. Janet's going to sing after Michael. Michael's going to lay his part down first. And I swear Michael walks in so meek and so mild. And as soon as the music starts, he turns into the Tasmanian devil. He's screaming and twirling and he's just killing it. Sings the whole song from start to finish. Our jaws are just on the floor.
Wow.
Just like unbelievable. Never seen anything like it in our life. When he finishes, he just goes, how was that?
Back to his real self.
Back to his real self. And we were like, yeah, Mike, that was good. And he goes, you want me to do it again? Yeah, Mike, yeah, go ahead and do it again. Like we're totally right? Janet leans in between us, and she just goes, I'll do my vocal in Minneapolis.
Yes. Dude, she's so smart.
She does not want to follow. Nobody wants to follow that.
Yeah.
And so anyway, when we're done, I remember he comes out. He does a couple more takes. He comes out, and he goes, okay, Janet, you're going to do your vocal now? And she goes, yeah, Mike, I think I'm gonna wait on my vocal, And anyway, so she comes to Minneapolis. She does her vocal in Minneapolis. We send the vocal to Michael. He calls us and he goes, she sounds really good. And we said, yeah, thanks, Michael. And he said, no, she sounds really good. Where'd she record that? And we said, Minneapolis. He said, I'm coming to Minneapolis. So now he comes to Minneapolis because he just wants his vocal to be as good as hers.
Oh my God.
We ended up not using, we might have used maybe 10% of what he did in Minneapolis. He had nailed it in New York.
You came back and cut the vocal again in Minneapolis.
He came back and cut it again. He just wanted to do it. And I remember.
And it may have even been placebo to him because you just used majority of New York vocals anyways.
Totally.
Wow.
We used probably 90%. I think there might have been one little piece that we used from the new vocal, but no, he had already nailed it in New York.
Well, what was the difference between his performance in New York at his studio that he's used to and being in Minneapolis with you guys?
Wow, that's a great question. I've never thought about that. Yeah, because the room he was in, I remember, was was Studio B at our building at that point in time. It was very similar, but what was different was the two things. One was the shock of him wasn't as prevalent. And also he was a little more measured in his performance because I think there were specific things that he was looking for to try to get.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just kind of the free form, just do your thing.
Yeah.
It was kind of like specific, can we get this one line? Or
Yeah. You knew what he wanted
He knew what he wanted to nail a little bit better. Yeah. So I think that was probably the difference. The other thing I remember was winter time in Minnesota. And I remember he loved it because he could put a ski mask on and he could go to the Mall of America. He could go anywhere he wanted to go.
Wow.
And just be normal.
Wow.
And he used to love going to the Mall of America because there was an amusement park there. And of course it was huge and all the restaurants and all the stuff that was there. So that would be like his hangout.
With the ski mask on?
With the ski mask on. Because it was normal. It was in Minnesota, when the weather's cold, people just put ski masks on. So that's what he would walk around in a ski mask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he's like, can I get a hot dog on a stick? And they're like, are you Michael Jackson?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sitting here with one of the greatest mixing engineers of all time, a dear friend of mine, ladies and gentlemen. His name is Manny Marroquin.
Man, with Kendrick, for example, we met and we sat there for 3 hours just talking about, where, our beginnings, or, just no music at all. No, we talked about each other to each other. We had an amazing conversation because, he was coming off of, he wanted something different, not better or worse, or not worse, but not better, but just different.
Different.
So he wanted to meet me. We sat there and I got to tell you, he studies every nuance, every movement, every word. And by the end of it, he's like, let's give a song. Let's do one song and see what happens. So we did, we worked on one song. And for me, you could tell an artist was wanting something slightly different, right? Yeah. So that's the psychology. So what we do is half of it is mind games. The other half is hopefully some talent here and there and some luck, a lot of luck.
Yeah.
But with him, it was about, it's such a deep album. It's a concept album. I mean, if you guys 10 years from now, some people are going to get it. They're like, oh, this is what's happening. There's a lot of Easter eggs along the way that when people start discovering them, it's gonna have new life to new listeners. And
for sure.
But he won't talk about them, which is a shame. I wish he could just go on, and I wish people would hear what he's told me about the album and how this song connects to this song and this lyric connects to, it's an answer, it's a question answer. It's like, I mean, can people please find out? Because it would blow your mind. So for me, I'm already mixing every conversation. I'm already like, okay, this needs depth, needs ups and downs. We need to really move. And sometimes the vocal's really dark, really moody. Other times it's really bright, really punchy. And it's just capturing that emotion of each song. So for me, this album is a book and each song is a chapter.
We finished dinner and then we walked back to my house and then you left, you gave me a hug. You're like, bye, I got to go finish this mix, this Migos and Drake song. And I was like, oh, when does it come out? And you were like, tonight.
Tonight, yeah.
I was like, what? Tonight?
Yeah.
And then I went to bed and I woke up in the morning and it was the top banner of Spotify, like Migos and Drake. And I was like, how is that possible that we're at dinner at like 7 p.m. and you needed to finish the mix? And that, so I guess there is some sort of special treatment you get if you're Migos and Drake to where I'm assuming you
Yeah.
finished it, you delivered it, and probably within minutes it was on Spotify.
Yeah,
on
something
the East
similar
Coast?
happened with going back to Kanye with Power. Remember
Yeah.
the song Power?
Yeah, of course.
I remember being up till 7 in the morning, sent them the mix, 10 a.m. in New York. And this is pre-streaming.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's easier to ingest, something.
A digital
into the
file.
system. Yeah. Back then, it wasn't, right?
Yeah.
So the debut was going to be at noon, New York time. The new Kanye single was a big deal, right? Finished it at 7 a.m., 10 a.m. New York time. He calls me, did a few notes or a few things here and there, send it to mastering. At noon, it was debuted worldwide, and that was the craziest thing I've ever
Like
seen.
debuted on the radio? Like
On the
where was-
radio, yeah. Like they played it right top of the hour, noon, 9 a.m. here. It was incredible. So some people have that,
Have that
Clive
power.
back in the day was the master of that. Like back in the day, you needed about a month. Like you turned the album in, and then a month later it would come out.
For
right?
printing CDs.
Yeah,
and doing,
exactly.
Yeah.
And somehow Clive would get it done like 4 days before. I'm like, how do you do that?
Clive Davis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you do that? How do you get the plan to, I don't know, 500,000 copies in like a couple of days? How do you get the trucks to, deliver them to all the record stores? Some people just have it. Drake is one of them.
Drake is one of them.
John Mayer's song Gravity, right? That song, that was the first song I ever worked with. That's when we met, John and I. And I remember mixing it and taking all the effects off, right? And I didn't know why. Subconsciously, Gravity is fucking heavy, right? So I took all the effects off. John comes in, listens to the mix. Steve Jordan's producing. He's on the road with Clapton. He's in the south of France. It's like, by the beach. And so we call him. We're like, we got the mix. Played it for John. Listens to it. Loves it because it's really. To me, that song was like, how would the Roots play? If John got together with the Roots, right? How would that sound? Because before that, Your Body is a Wonderland. It's very poppy, very singer-songwriter. Well, this song is like, how do we give him a different type of sound? Because he's searching for that.
Yeah.
So Gravity. So the vocal is dry. Bone dry. And he's like, what do you have on my vocal? I'm like, I don't know. Let me see. And I'm looking at the channel and I have no effects on it. I go, it's dry. And at this point, John's like, what do you mean dry?
Yeah.
Like dry, there's nothing. Not even a slap or a short It's like, no, there's nothing. And that made him really uncomfortable. So the the right brain, your creative side is like, oh, it feels great. But then your left side kicks in. It's like, wait a minute. No, I've never had a dry vocal. And we roll with it. He plays, he called me from the video shoot. And he's like, man, can we try some reverb on it? I just want to hear what it sounds like. So I gave him one with an AMS reverb, another one with a 480, 480. And gave him two options, right? I like option B. Let's roll with that. And I'm like, all right, cool. So then he's playing the album, the finished album for Donnie Einer at the time. And Donnie heard Gravity, and he's like, to his, credit, he's like, wait a minute, sounds different. So he's, getting the demo or whatever, the rough mix or the first mix. He plays it on the CD. He's like, that's the song. That's the mix. And he calls me. He's like, Donnie heard it, and we're rolling with the dry vocal. But imagine, at this point, he's never, ever heard himself that dry or dry at all. And I'm like, you're such a badass singer that, yes. But it came from the subconscious of like Gravity being a heavy theme, and the lyrics. So to answer your question, that was one of those examples of, it kind of influences, again, Gravity, it influences me to be, I don't know, take some chances, and thankfully we won on that one. There's been others that I haven't been that successful, but at least that's our job, to give you different emotions, hopefully. And my idol growing up was Al Schmidt, rest in peace. And I sat next to him 15 years ago at the Grammys, and I'm like, man, you got 20 Grammys, you should rub some of that. And I won 3 that night, which was amazing. So at the point I had 4, and I'm thinking, this guy's got 20. That number was just out of reach. I mean, that's like a dream, you know? So now having 17, it's just like, it blows my mind. I mean, you know, look, I come from very humble beginnings, so this is just amazing. I take it all in because, you know, listen, there's going to be another chapter where I'm not going to be doing this, and I want to enjoy every fucking second of it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Nicole Row. How did you get the gig with Panic at the Disco?
Okay, so my Fender rep. I was working with Miley at the time.
Yep.
And my Fender rep was, what he told me was he was having lunch with their team and Brendan, and they said they were going to need someone really quick for, you know, the next leg of their tour. And he just dropped my name in the hat. I was just like, you should meet this girl. And he said he like pulled up my Instagram, which immediately changed the way that I do things on my social media, and showed it to them. And he looked at like the 3 videos that I had on there.
Oh, because at the time you weren't posting a lot of videos of you playing.
No,
you didn't have you didn't have a bunch of followers then.
No,
at that point
I had maybe 3,000.
Right, and you were doing Miley Cyrus. Mm-hmm. And then so then the second you heard that, oh wow, my Instagram's being used as like a as like presentation
an audition
of me as like an audition. Step 1, I gotta do this differently.
Yes,
really,
absolutely, yeah. It works.
Yeah.
It works so dramatically. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I can't even believe it. But I started realizing like you need to start filming the things that you're doing, you know, promoting yourself. And I actually had a call with his manager, Panic's manager, at a laundromat. I was like doing my laundry and he called me to like be like, is this person normal? Can she work with us? You know? And that was so, looking back at that, it's so funny. I was just a kid. I had like no money, you know, it's like just barely scraping by, you know, sneaking like little whiskey bottles into the place I was going because I wasn't buying drinks anywhere. Yeah. It's just really cool to think back on that.
And then you started posting more, like documenting you with Panic, documenting you just playing bass.
Yeah.
And then it started growing.
Well, no, it's because very quickly after that, we were just in rehearsals and gone. And then after the first show, Panic has such a hardcore following.
Yeah.
And they are very much similar to Incubus. They are a band, you know, not like working with anybody else. You're the band of the artist.
Right.
But now you're the band. So when we did our first gig and it was like a surprise announcement, the followers kind of just like skyrocketed on their own.
Right.
But more so what I'm talking about that changed is when I started promoting myself, you know, once I got home and I could, the different musical opportunities that came outside of that were very different. And I've noticed the difference between when I am posting stuff and when I'm not. It's like night and day, like within a few days, different calls start coming in.
Just as when you're active, opportunities become active.
Yes. Yeah. And that's not, you know, it doesn't have to be like a huge gig, but just something that is really like fulfilling for me, you know?
Make a ton of noise for Jesus Molina. So you must be very disciplined.
Well, I try, but definitely talent, discipline, and opportunity. So many people with talent, but they don't have discipline. They don't want to practice, and they don't have opportunities. Some other, they have great opportunities. They don't have talent, not even a discipline. But when you have a big talent and you put it a huge discipline, these two combined, all the opportunities gonna run behind you.
Yeah.
How can I be better and better and better every single day?
Yeah.
That's how I realized that. What I realized is I really need to practice every day.
Yeah.
And until I die, look at Chick Corea before he died.
Yeah.
Practicing every single day.
Oh, yeah.
Herbie.
Yeah.
Practicing every day. Do you think Herbie needs to practice?
Man.
But he chooses.
Yeah.
That's the beauty about music. You're always going to discover new things. Doesn't matter what level you are.
Welcome one of my favorite humans.
Yeah.
James Fauntleroy.
He's real.
Okay, so how about suit and tie?
Suit and tie, what? Which parts did I write?
Yeah.
Let me see. He wrote that. I think I wrote that. No, he wrote that too, because he also wrote "She ain't nothing but a little doozy when she does it," which is hilarious. Right.
Yep.
And we don't mind all the watching. I wrote that whole. So he wrote the first half of the verse. I wrote the second half of the verse. Then he wrote the hook. Long as I got my suit and tie, I'm gonna down the floor at night. Up to the nines. Let me show you a few things. Then I wrote, let me show you a few things. So we literally was going back and forth. So
I love that.
he wrote the first half of the verse. I wrote the second half. He wrote the first half of the hook. I wrote the second half.
And when you're doing that, it's hook and melody, same writer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love.
Although we
that.
did both too. You know, there were also times where I would do a melody and he would write the words, or he would do the melody and I would write the words.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
For the most part, probably because we've written so many songs, you know, like if I wasn't there or he wasn't there, we wouldn't be doing any of that. We would just go in the booth and just write it.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. That was one of my most fun experiences of any kind, working on the 2020
So
Experience
fun.
album. I'm always excited to work with Rihanna because she's just such a great collaborator and platform, and just so supportive and just a good experience. So like, I'll go to fucking Jupiter if Rihanna was like, because I hate traveling too.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, okay.
so that's probably why my response was muted, because I don't want to go anywhere. But you know, if it's Rihanna, I'm out of here. You know what I'm saying?
It seems like you and Rihanna.
And that's
have a-
not true for a lot of people, bro.
Yeah. Well, you can tell just even from the outset that you and Rihanna have a special relationship. Her song James's Joint, of course, which if you listen to that song, sounds it. I mean, it is a James Fauntleroy song just sung by Rihanna.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
Yeah,
What is the story of that song? Is that what happened?
No, it's like I went to the studio because, like I said, even because Rihanna's been like false starting albums since her last album, and I'll still go work on that shit because it's Rihanna, you know. It's not even especially not at this point. It's not even about the money or none of that. It's just like, you know, that's my nigga. But what am I telling you about? Oh yeah, so I went in the studio, and Omar Grant, he's now running Rock Nation over there. I'm so proud of him. But at the time, he was Rihanna's A&R. And he always tells everybody, like, don't bring me a Rihanna song. You know what I mean? Because that's just, she doesn't want that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's why she is who she is.
Yeah.
And so I noticed, I rarely go to writing camps, one, because it's not fair, because, you know, I'm just going to blow everybody's shit out of the water. But I rarely go to writing camps. But I noticed when I've gone to camps for her, people are still doing a fucking Rihanna song whenever I go in there, which always blows my mind because I've seen him tell people not to do that so many times, and they literally just do it anyway. And so, which is you know, I'm just saying that for those of you that ever get asked to do a Rihanna song out there. But
Just write
when
your
I
own
got
song, not a
there,
Rihanna song.
kind of everybody was doing trap, which that's not necessarily Rihanna, but like that's just what was so super popular at that time.
Yep.
I mean, still at this time, all times. So everybody had a trap beat, and the producer of that song is a guy named Shay Taylor. You know Shay Taylor?
No.
Oh my God, he's an absolute fucking genius, jazz musician.
Amazing.
And he's a producer. He's produced so many things, so many like just incredible songs throughout time. And so he can make amazing trap beats. He has the skills to do that. But the problem was that he can also make like incredible jazz pieces. And so when I went in there, he did what you know made sense, which is he pulled up one of his trap beats, and I was like, "What is this shit?" You know what I mean? I was like, it was two things. It was one, when I walked to the room, I heard trap beats coming out of every room.
Yeah.
And then two, I'm like, there's no way that I'm gonna sit here with a genius jazz musician and waste time making a trap song
Yeah.
when everyone else is doing a trap song. So it was this double whammy of I'm not doing this. So I was like, play me the most complex thing you can think of in your computer right now, because that's what I'm feeling. And it wasn't even like, you know, because that's the other thing is like, I'm just trying to make the best song, because that's what our relationship is, me and Rihanna's relationship is based on taste. It's a taste thing. To me, that's the secret of her and a lot of people like us, of our lives, is it's taste. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, out of respect to my taste levels, like I need some tasty shit. And so he pulls up this jazz piece that he had been working on. And I wrote to the song, like, you know, what I thought it was saying to me. And then I left and I didn't name it because I was like, drop the mic. Like, don't play me no trap beats again.
Yeah.
Everybody. You know what I mean? Like, because if you call me to come do a trap song, now if you got that money, I'll come do that. I'll trap you if you want to get into trap. But for the most part, even now, like, I really want to push myself, push the audience, and push the art. You know, I just want to push things. And so I didn't even name the shit. I just walked out. Rihanna's engineer is, you know, over the years we become really good friends. We spent so much time together working with Rihanna. And her personal engineer was the engineer for this session for me to record the song too. Probably because we're cool. You know what I mean? And so when I left, I didn't name it. He just typed James Joint, like a James song. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And maybe also he was being funny because he's a funny guy.
Yeah.
But then when Rihanna saw it, I wasn't there, but I'm told when Rihanna saw it, she was like, "Oh, this is perfect. This is the name of the song." I'm also told another famous hater was trying to convince her to change the name of the song after playing it 8 times in the studio, but she stuck to her guns. Named that beautiful song after me, and you know, the entendre of the title and the topic, and I just thought that was genius. But I didn't even name that song because I wouldn't.
I figured you didn't. Yeah. You wouldn't have named it James Joint. Yeah.
As arrogant as I sound in this interview, I would never name a song after myself.
It's all comedy. That makes sense. But and it also just because if there is a song for another artist to title James Joint, it is that song. It sounds like it could be on your solo album.
Yeah, oh man, that's because when I'm working with certain people, her being a really good example, it really brings the real me out because I know I can do that. You know, like I have to, and any writer or producer, you know, it's a service business, so we have to try at least to meet the demands of the customer. In our business, a lot of times the customer is wrong. You know what I mean? Like, and so that's been the times that I've gone against what the customer asked for, or when they were just so wrong about what they needed that it was a waste of time for me to do this wrong thing when I can do the right thing. You guys cannot take it, and then I have a good song now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I've done that a million times. People come in and ask me for an up tempo, but they really need a ballad.
Yep.
And then I'm like, here you go. And so, you know, I've done that a lot of times. But with Rihanna and certain other artists, you know, you'll get more of me in the music because I feel comfortable doing that. Because I'm also good at completely taking my own, you know, parameters out of a situation. Because I'm really about like, what's the target? What's the platform? What's the message? You know, like I don't really think of it as a spiritual incense burning thing, although I love spirits and incense. But, you know, it's really like a science for me, especially having done it so many times and at such a level. I can do whatever. You know what I mean? But there's just certain circumstances that bring something else out. And those have been the best songs of my career, period.
We got Luke Holland here, internet sensation, drummer of the youth. What do I call
Drummer, I thought you were going to say of the used.
Lord of the Dogs.
Lord of the Dogs.
Yeah, you are Dog Lord.
Knowing your worth is crucial. Like, you said this is an honest podcast. I feel like a lot of hired drummers get kind of shit on when it comes to what they're getting paid and stuff. And of course, it's like, what are you bringing to the table? But there's some absolutely incredible guys I know that get so severely underpaid. Just kind of knowing your worth is really important. I feel like, having a naturally good business sense is like, how do you teach that?
Yeah.
It's a tough thing. There is some like intellect that comes with that.
I think it's more about generating opportunities, how do you generate opportunities? How do you put yourself out there? How do you make yourself available in a way that's not desperate?
Yeah.
But how do you show your worth?
I truly feel like if anybody doesn't move out of their like hometown and they just stay there forever, it's like you're missing so much growth. There's a lot of growth to be had if you move out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good to put yourself in that uncomfortable, vulnerable
Totally.
situation of leaving your nest or
Yep.
whatever your place is, where you can just kind of
Just be
take it
comfortable
easy and be comfortable and
and
challenge yourself. And
even though when I was in Arizona, I found so many incredible people to work with, Jeremy Trimp, Cameron Mizell, these people that did my video, audio, which honestly, I look at those videos and I still to this day, like, 7-8 years later, the quality is so good. And I think that's why like the YouTube channel really kind of blew up back then. It was just kind of, nobody was really doing that yet. I feel
you were ahead of the game for sure.
Yeah. I really have them to thank a lot for that. But
because your videos just looked like super high production,
Yeah.
like commercial or movie or like.
It's crazy. I was able to find these locations that like they were trying to get their name out there, and I was getting millions of views per video. So like, well, we're not going to charge you. Just put our name, put our contact. And I was like, absolutely, let's do it. And then it's really cool. Like Jeremy and Cameron never charged me ever. It was just a really cool. We were all just growing simultaneously together, and like, it wasn't like I put the video out and I'm the only one stoked. They would also be reading all the comments, watching the views go up, and it was just, we were all just like mutually like, let's keep this shit going,
Yeah.
It's good times.
It's everyone was investing in their own careers
Exactly.
and just going all in, and smart. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And because of that, when it's a labor of love like that, people like try their best.
Yep.
When it's not about the money and it's just about making great art and having people see it and like it and growing.
Yep.
It's funny how different the motivator is compared to just like if cash is the motivator.
Totally. Dude, it's one thing I really miss about those times.
Yeah.
Most people that you work with now, of course, money is like the thing, and it complicates things sometimes. And then sometimes you don't get the work ethic that the people that were doing it for free because they were stoked. It's just like a weird thing.
Yeah.
But I always pay everybody now, and
Ladies and gentlemen, make a ton of noise
Omarion.
for Omarion.
Wow.
So how did Post to Be come about? Because that's one of those songs where, first of all, Smash,
Yeah.
a lot of people involved in that song, right?
Yeah.
Like you, Mustard,
Yep.
Chris Brown, Janae Aiko.
Yep.
How did Post to Be come together?
Yeah. So I went to go pull up on DJ Mustard. You know what I mean? And I was like, yo, what's up? What's good? This was during the time that, he was killing it.
Yeah.
Had the radio on lock.
Yep.
You know
Absolutely.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yo, this is a California native. Yo, Mustard, I got to pull up on you. What's up? I pulled up on him, and then at Chalice, actually.
Okay.
Yep. I pulled up on him at Chalice, and then, he played me a few beats, and he kind of skimmed over Post to Be. And I was like, wait a minute, hold up, go back to that one. He went back to that one. And myself and Sam, we started like playing around with the melody. You know what I mean? Shout out to Micah. Shout out to all the writers and the people who contributed on that song. So after I did my verse, I hit up my boy Chris Brown. I was like, yo, man, I need you to hop on this record. He like, hey, man, pull up.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I pulled up on CB at the record plant, and yeah, we wrote the verse
Because
right
he
there.
was already there?
Yeah, he was.
Okay.
He was working on some other music.
Yeah.
And he was like, pull up on me. I'll be at the studio tomorrow. And that was one of his favorite places to record all the time, and mine too, and Pharrell.
Yeah.
And so many other
Yeah, and so
artists,
many
you know
others,
what I'm saying? So yeah, I pulled up on him at the record plant, and we did the verse right there. We wrote the verse, you know what I mean?
What did you already have with Post to Be?
Just my verse. Just
your
my
verse.
verse and the hook.
Yeah.
Yeah, just my verse and the hook. And
And the whole beat.
Yep.
Yeah.
and the whole
The
beat.
synth line and everything.
All of that was
yeah,
there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I pulled up on
Because that song hits you immediately.
Ooh,
Yeah.
was I about to be? Ooh. Yeah, that's a big vibe. But yeah, I put up on CB, and then shout out to Bobby Love too, because he was there in the session with me. We wrote the verse right there, you know what I mean? And then I sent it to Janae, and then Janae worked on it and sent it back to me, you know what I mean? So
Nice.
it was a whole It takes a village.
Wow.
It takes a village.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So shout out to them. That is my biggest record today. Shout out to Pharrell. And that's what I love, about working with him.
Yeah.
I remember flying down to Miami, and shout out to KP, who connected us at that particular time. I was on Sony. Mm-hmm. And I flew down to Miami, man. And I remember when I pulled up to the studio, there was this white Brooklyn Bentley sitting in the front. I'm like, ooh, look at this. It had to be his. It was his.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then I pulled up in the studio. Chad was also in there. And
Chad Hugo.
Yep. And man, they start cooking up right on the spot. And that's what I really loved and appreciated about Pharrell as well. It wasn't like he had, these songs like, okay, listen to these and and tell me what you think. Maybe you can sing this one, you know what I mean?
Yep.
But he like decorated a song specifically for Omarion. And I feel like Touch is one of those unique one of his unique records that definitely stand out in his catalog. So working with Pharrell was just a pure joy. A full circle moment with him and I would be just amazing. You know what I mean?
Ladies and gentlemen, make a lot of noise for Rance Dopson.
If you're a producer, a real producer that understands the art of space, you can be a great musical director.
Yeah.
And if you know how to solve problems fast and still smile at the same time in front of the camera, even though somebody's fucking up the fucking song and the click track's off, you still got to smile and then tell the artist, yo, keep going, say this. The shit's fucking up. And then you go tell the monitor guy, hey, you're fucking up. Like, what are we doing? Can we fix this? And you got to smile the whole time. So it's really about being a problem solver and being organized and just having a good team, man. Like, I'm just blessed to be able to have the Avengers to where, back in the day I was MDing and doing a lot of stuff to where now my job is a lot easier because God has blessed me with the coldest musicians alive. Like, shout out to Damo and Kyrie, and Quentin and, Chris Payton. Like all our people are really like, I'm making them MDs now. Yeah. Of course we did for Beyonce. We got the call to do the Dubai show.
Yep.
So I MD'd that. The difference with me is when I walked in for the rehearsal, I walked in with me, Kyrie, and Damo. So, we're the MDs. What y'all want to do?
Yeah.
Most people won't do that because they're selfish and they really,
Yeah.
So it's to the point now where Kyrie, I left and Kyrie killed it, and Damo had to go to Alicia Keys to MD her.
Yeah.
We're really like killing the game, man. Yeah.
You're scaling it. That's how you grow.
Yeah. And then shout out to the homies Omar and Adam Blackstone too.
Yeah. Omar Edwards.
Yeah, we're like in cahoots. People don't know. We're homies though.
Yeah, you guys
like,
are all together.
Yeah, it's like it's either you're with Adam or you're with us, West Coast or Omar, or man, well, we're really homies for real.
So when you're talking to Beyonce about the Dubai show and it's like 3 weeks for this huge show, what is her vision like in that first phone call on a high level?
Oh yeah, her vision is amazing. She explained what she wanted to do, and I want 30 strings. I'm gonna have 40 dancers. I'm gonna have horn sections. We're gonna have this. So we want to make it, really feel like a big band, and so we all I need is direction, and we gonna bring it home. Yeah, we gonna do what we do. It's in us.
So a 3-week rehearsal prep for a show versus months for Coachella.
Yeah, I mean, shit, Nas, we did a show in Nas for a 2-day rehearsal in Japan for an hour and 30-minute show. and we didn't get to meet the nigga until we got to Japan. This was years ago, though.
Wow.
So
you rely on the DJ a lot in that situation?
No, we're Playback? A band. We don't know. We when you understand that if you're, like, the difference between 1500 and most other bands, we're a band full of producers.
Yes.
Full of real producers that's doing it in real life. So this band thing is like a blessing and a hobby, and it's just something that keeps our spirits up for us to keep making music.
Make a ton of noise for Cassius J, Chris Moten, and Devon Stixx Taylor.
Iggy.
Yes, sir. Let's go.
Yes, sir. Let's go.
You know, Skrillex told me this years ago, and it really resonated with me. He told me if you have to think about something for more than a minute, and if it's not just yes, then it's no.
That's how I feel. Sure. That's how me and Zaytoven make beats. If you got to think too hard about it, that ain't it.
Right.
If it come natural, like everything came natural. Leaving last night with Chrisette Michelle performing, everything came natural. It wasn't a thought.
Yes.
And that's when you know you got something.
It's you and Cardi B and Migos. Like, how did that come together?
Shout out to my boy Nonstop the Hitmaker too. Hitman, Nonstop the Hitman. He's a producer on it. It came about, I rock with Quavo and Takeoff and Offset so hard. Like I was there at the beginning when they was trying to find a deal. And I kept them close. So when Offset started dating Cardi, the label called me in to go in with him. Atlantic called me in to go in with Cardi and work. I went in, watched every producer play what they had to play. And I was like, you know what? I got a song with Offset on it right now. I told Cardi, I think it'll work for you. I didn't know I had gained that same beat to Quavo. No, I gave the same beat to Thug and Future. There's a whole nother version of that same song on the internet with Future, Thug, Quavo.
Wow.
And that's it. I think somebody else. I didn't know I did all that, but I gave it to Cardi. Cardi called Set. It's like, you know this dude? He's like, nah, that's the guy. She was like, well, he just played me one of your songs. I don't know what they did when I left the scene. I just heard it. And I approved on it. I signed it. I was like, dang, I called. Matter of fact, Offset called me and said, don't get that beat to nobody else. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
He called me like, don't get it. Because when he found out I played it for, he kind of was mad because that supposed to went on the Culture album. I don't fuck around, gave his wife one of their hits and they going on her album.
Yeah.
Unorthodox. I work the weirdest way. That why you send me a motherfucking clip of trap jazz, I go show the whole world. He sent me a fucking MP3 of him rapping on the song, I go play it for the whole world.
Yeah.
That's just work for unorthodox. Always worked for me. That's how I got to where I played it for Cardi. She liked it. She jumped on it. So that's how the whole song came about.
Devon, Stixx, Taylor. Let's go, dude.
What's up, bro?
So I think a big part of your playing that makes you so special as a drummer analyzing you is your foot.
Oh, yeah?
You have such a strong kick.
Oh, man. Thank you. I appreciate it.
When you're doing all these crazy combos and your fills and everything, like your foot, and I've sat next to you many a time and just watched your foot just be like and so hard, man.
Yeah, man.
And you're not a big guy. Where does all the power in the foot come from?
I don't know.
How do you get the kick drum so loud?
Hey, man. I don't know. I guess I drinking milk and I ate my Wheaties when I was younger, I guess. My dad, he always wanted me to play hard. Like, I can't feel you. Like, I can't feel it. You know what I mean? And a big thing was for him, he was like, yo, just stay in the pocket. Like, he used to tell me all the time, like, don't leave. And if I got out of there, he's like, he'll put his hand in there and be like, come on. But he was just like, bro, I can't feel you. You got to play harder. And then even with playing with my uncle, Pastor John P. Key, shout out to Unc. What's up, Unc? He wants you to play hard too. Like, yo, he want to feel it. Boom, bot, boom, boom, bot, boom. Like, you got to, I don't care if it's no mics on the drum and there's 10,000 people out there, they need to be able to feel or hear something, bro. So I guess it just came from that. You know, and I'm like, man, well, I want people to hear me. I got to get it, you know, louder and harder.
Yeah.
But without busting the drums and, you know, and breaking them. So I guess that's where it came from. And then also college, too, kind of helped me a little bit, too. Just like my foot technique, my professors and everything. Like, they showed me, like, some cool ways of getting things done. So I guess that's what it is. And big God, thank you.
God bless you with that foot. Where'd you go to college?
Atlanta Institute of Music.
Nice.
When I mess up during the show, it's like, you're a drummer and musician, so you know how it goes. Like, if you're doing a show or you're just playing period in the studio, like, if you mess up, well, really in the show, if you mess up, it's like you think about that the rest of the show, right? Yes. Or is it just me?
No, totally. You gotta get over it.
Yeah, bro.
If so not, you're just like, the third verse.
Oh my God, I really missed that. Like, I missed the hit.
Yeah, one single hit. Yeah. And it's a single hit that's happening amongst 64th notes.
Oh, man.
It's like no one knows.
It's just something so simple. Like, it's so funny, man. Yeah, it's cool. Like, I remember me and Cobbs with Usher, we was playing, and this is stuff that, like, that we just add now since we know, like, the show pretty much. So some things that he does that I catch with him, or some stuff that I do that, you know, he'll catch with me. I remember one day he looked at me, he was like, I stab on the one. I'm like, all right, cool. We playing, and I missed it, bro. He was like, bro, what the fuck? And I thought about it the rest of the show. I'm like, man, I'm sorry, bro. But yeah, man, it's cool though.
Meanwhile, the audience is clapping on the 1 and 3.
Right? They don't know nothing that's going on.
Like, no.
They don't know nothing.
You're doing it wrong. Yeah. Yeah. They don't hear that mess up.
Nah.
You gotta let go of the mess up.
Yeah, I know.
Immediately.
Man. I gotta get out of my head when it comes to that.
Just treat it like jazz, right? If you mess up, you just act
who
like
cares?
you act like you don't, and then therefore it was intentional, and then therefore you're like, I meant to do that.
I meant to do that, guys.
Jazz, baby.
Jazz, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, Christian James Hand.
This is the thing that I've been dying to find my entire life, because this is all the things that I care about. This is all the things that I want to do. I love making people laugh, because as a traumatized human being, there's nothing better than getting people to not be traumatized. And I get to be a music fan, and I get to like show people how much I love music and how much they love music, because they're going to be re-engaged. None of the songs I do are deep album cuts that nobody's heard before.
Yeah.
You know, unless you show up for a Queen Terror, where I'm getting you to fucking come to learn how amazing Pantera are by rewarding your patience for the first hour with some Queen. Most of the stuff is stuff that you're fully engaged in and already know, but you're listening to it in an entirely new way, and you're getting. And the thing that I didn't realize happen is, because we're musicians and we've been part of the experience of creating music in a studio and working in that way, we already have like a tertiary EQ understanding of songs, and we can listen into them, and you could focus on a bass line. One of the things I didn't realize that I would do with this thing is teach people that skill. And so much feedback I get from people is like, I can now hear things in songs in a way that I couldn't before. And it was a transferable skill from song to song. They're like, dude, I can hear bass lines where before I couldn't find a bass line, because all they needed to know was where that bass line sat in what they were listening to. And then the nice thing about the jam card ones was how many people, like Phil Lassiter, every single time would be like, dude, I got to go to the studio. I'm so fucking inspired. And then the other thing of like Phil's favorite thing was like, bro, I'm going to start leaving mistakes in.
Yes.
He's like, I'm going to stop fucking fixing everything. He's like, these motherfuckers had mistakes on his bum notes. There's people slipping out of time. I'm like, yeah, dude, humanity.
And now with Elmo Lovano, it is John J.R. Robinson.
All right.
The Rock With You intro.
Right.
Most iconic drum intro, drum fill ever in such a small amount of time. How did you write that fill?
Oh my God. So we were cutting for the Off the Wall album, the song Rock With You. But I was very fortunate to be the mainstay drummer through the entire record. So Quincy would cast different rhythm section guys and put them around me. So I was very fortunate to play on every song.
Amazing.
And got to play with different bass players, like Lewis Johnson, and Greg Finnegan's playing synth bass on Don't Stop. But it started by, after I cut a couple of songs, and then they asked me to come back and do the rest of the record on Monday. And that basically was party weekend central before that. got to the studio, boom, boom, boom. We did Don't Stop. And then I get asked, okay, so what's your schedule like coming up? And we want to get your band in and record this song. And Quincy knew that it was a hit record written by Rod Temperton. And the song happened to be called Rock With You. And we did not know it at the time. So we were all cast. It was Hawk Walensky on keys, Bobby Watson on bass, and David Williams on guitar. And we were in Westlake B, which ironically is where I cut Gaga.
Wow.
They wanted the exact same vibe, but X amount of decades later. But so we go in, we start listening to Rod's demo, and Rod's very precise and simplistic and has everybody playing a specific part. Now the drum part, no, there was no drum part. It was just motion. But like the bass part Bobby's playing, it was pretty much verbatim. However, Bobby took liberties and played the most melodic bass part of all. Not until the correct take. So take one, I don't know. I probably kind of, I cut it with a click that I programmed, and back then it was a Yuri old film click, 7-frame film click.
Wow.
And so I got the tempo, blah, blah, blah. We start rehearsing, and then we're ready to cut. So take one. No magic. Okay. Well, let's do it again. Okay. Little Phil, whatever. Take two. Maybe a little better. People are learning their parts. Time's going on. I'm looking in the control room, and I can see Quincy and Rod in there. Rod's puffing on his red Marlboros. And take three. Lot better. No magic. And we're sitting there kind of in the studio, in a small room. And I see Quincy get up and Rod get up and come out of the door, and Quincy stands right by me. And I'm going, oh, shit. And Rod's standing right here smoking his Marlboros with his English accent. And Quincy goes, JR, he goes, if you could come up with a fill, an intro fill that the whole world would forever identify with this song, could you do that? And maybe on this next take. And I looked at him and I go, sure. like John Belushi, like, and all the guys are like going like this to me, like going, oh, fuck. Like,
no pressure.
No pressure. What are you going to do? And little did they know that they are going to be put in the exact same amount of pressure because of what's going through my brain. But I didn't know what I was going to do. So I reflected back to the Rod demo, which was, it was weird. And then I thought, what do I hate most about drum fills? I hate when let's just take two examples. One is straight 16th notes and triplets, or putting them together is just wrong.
Yeah.
It's wrong. And so I go, that's what I'm going to do. But I did it more in a syncopated march world. So then, okay, all right, guy, ready, take four, let's go. And all of a sudden I hear four clicks, and then I have to go. So the four clicks were click, 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 click. And I just did that, but I used my military training, my march training, and I added syncopation, and I made sure there was a hole that you could drive an 18-wheeler through to get to the next downbeat. But it all came spontaneously.
In that one take.
And I was like, thank you, God. In that one take. And then we never did another take.
No way.
That was it.
That fill set the magic for the whole take.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, everybody's playing differently. Bobby's bass line is completely different than the other three takes.
Because you hit that downbeat and everyone was like, ooh.
That's what it was. And Quincy knew they were up dancing and shit, and it was like, Rod, it was great. It was great. And blah, 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 blah. So that was, and then we kind of knew we had cut a #1 record.
Oh.
Which is, I have people asking me, and I am working on my book now.
Yeah.
Which will be a 2024 release. But
amazing.
I have this is being thought about how do you know that? How do you think about that?
Yeah.
So it's like all of us looked at each other and we go, we did it.
Wow. That's so much pressure, and you did it in one take. It just came out of you.
And there was no pressure the minute the fill happened, but it was really the downbeat.
Yeah.
As a drummer, man, when you land on that downbeat, I mean, that's word.
Yeah. I love that that's one take and it wasn't this like perfectly written or articulated thing, or it wasn't Quincy walking in being like, can you do something kind of like stu?
No. I mean, on other sessions, Quincy's come in with a little piece of music and he's written out some fills for me for other stuff. And I'm, and his penmanship was just perfect.
Yeah.
It was the real deal.
For sure.
And I go, you really want me to play that? He goes, yeah, play that, Anyway, but not on this one.
Oh my God. So you knew you had a hit.
100%.
Larnell Lewis.
What's happening?
How are you, my bro?
I'm well. How you doing?
I'm great, man. How do you handle difficulties?
That's an even better question. So when you say difficulties...
Life difficulties.
Yeah.
Music is second. Like, it's like, how do you handle all the life difficulties when the curveballs that hit you, whether it's your kids, whether it's your wife, whether it's the business, whether it's all these things that come up, there's so many things happen just in being a touring musician and you being in Paris and operating this company, right? And being responsible for bringing in enough income to support your family and everything. Then on top of that, you got your job as an academic. Then on top of that, you got your job as a husband, job as a father. Difficulties.
Yeah. I can start again.
I can start again.
I can start again. That's it. Because you just like Pro Tools, it's not if, it's when it's gonna crash, right? Yeah. Like computers, right?
Knowing that and being okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to be okay with it, but you do have to know that.
Accepting of the fact that it is going to happen, and you can choose how to react to it.
Yeah, you will either have a copy of another DAW, you will either have another computer. Like, it's just making these backups, these plans, and talking to people. What do you do? So like you asked me what happens for me. So there's therapy, there's coaching, right? There are mentors, there are peer mentors, there's family, there are, at least for me, like pastors, there are people I can just talk to, you know? And there's accepting that it's okay to just have a moment to just break down. If it's really crappy, just, it's crappy.
Yeah.
That's it. We are in the moment, and the moment is crappy.
Do you break down alone or break down with your wife, or?
Both.
Both, yeah.
Yeah. Rarely alone.
Yeah.
Rarely alone. And that's only because I probably have to figure out what's next.
Yeah.
But I will stop and just be like, this is not cool.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm going to do. But I can start again. I can be happy. I know some of what I need to do. I just have to set it in motion and just allow things to happen or figure out the rest. Just let it hit me. Move on to the next.
I'm live with Greyson Nekrutman. Nekrutman, get it right. We're calling you Greyson Nekrutman.
You did it right. Most people don't. You
Some
must see
people are
that.
haters and just look down on whatever. It doesn't matter.
True.
You have to do you as an entrepreneur.
Absolutely.
You are you.
Yeah.
You should do what feels good to you, and you should look at the market and see what are people responding to, and if what they're responding to is also something that feels good to you,
do it.
That's your move.
Do it.
If what they're responding to is something that you tried but you don't like it, maybe don't do it, because what you like and what feels good to you is more important than anything. Because what could happen is someone responds, like, let's say you hate jazz, but you made a jazz video and it popped off. You're like, oh, I have to make another one of these jazz videos.
I never wanted to do that.
You don't want to get stuck into something that you don't enjoy. No. Number one, enjoy what you do. Number two, how do you make a living based off what you enjoy?
There was one big pop off. So it's crazy because I still think about this. I get chills. So my grandmother passed away in October of, so it wasn't this October. It wasn't last October. It was the October before. So 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And the day she passed away, I recorded the Caravan drum solo. Like cliche drum solo, I know. And that got like 9 million views.
Wow.
And it was the craziest thing because like I wasn't in the mood to record. And I kind of just was like, I'll do it. It was like in the afternoon. I just like spent like 6 hours recording it and recorded it. And it didn't take off right away. On Instagram, it did. Like the day of or the next day, like got like 700 comments, whatever. And I was like, oh, it's cool. Posted on YouTube. It got copyrighted. And I was like, whatever. Put it back up like a week later. Forgot about it. I look back. It's at like 1 million.
No way.
And then I look back. It's 3 million.
On YouTube?
Yeah.
Wow.
And now it's like 9, I think, or something like that. And I was just like, what? And that's when people were really like, as funny as it sounds, people were referring to me as that one video in person or what? Oh, I saw your Caravan video.
Caravan guy.
Exactly. Caravan guy, yeah. Play Caravan. So it's like, do it.
I'm on the internet. Do it for me.
I'm going to throw a chair at you. But literally, like that, I realized the reach of one video was crazy. That one video.
Why?
I have no clue.
So sometimes it makes sense, sometimes it doesn't.
It makes no sense because there's other people who made that cover.
Yeah, for sure.
Other people did that drum solo. Why me?
Right. And Ibrahim Maalouf is with me.
I wasn't expecting him to come and listen to my show. And I met Thomas and Quincy Jones' production team in Montreux. And they told me, Quincy is going to listen to your show. He's going to be on the side of the stage. And they told me also, don't be sad or anything if you see him leaving the show during the concert, but this is what he does in general. He doesn't stay. And I asked, I remember, I said, but what, how can I know if he liked the show or not? And I don't remember who answered me. Someone told me, well, sometimes when he likes the show, he orders food. So, okay, I kept that in mind. And I was like, I mean, if he leaves, he leaves. That's life. But at least I can say Quincy Jones heard me.
Watched you play.
He watched me play and he heard my trumpet. So I was playing on the big stage. And like every 15 seconds, I was like, just, how do you say it? Like looking quickly. You say sneaking or something?
Yeah, you were glancing.
Yeah,
you're kind of distracted, half.
Yeah, distracted,
half,
and just looking at him to see if is he enjoying or not.
Yeah.
And then, you know, at some point we were like at half of the concert, I was expecting him to leave at some point, you know,
Yeah.
and I was always like glancing, looking, and and at some point I saw a huge plate of sushi arriving towards him.
Yeah.
And while I was playing in my mind, I was like, yes,
That's it.
Yes.
You got the tip.
He's staying. You know. So at the end of the show, I went directly towards him and I said, "I'm so honored that you're here and that you listened to this show, and I hope you liked it." And he was like, "Oh man, I loved it, man. I love what you do." And you know, Quincy.
Yep.
So. I kept
He's
talking.
like, "You're a Scorpio."
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. This is one of the first questions he asked me. And he said, "Yeah, I'm a Libra. You're a Scorpio. Oh, nice." and yeah, and I talked to him like maybe half an hour, 45 minutes or something like this. And he said,
"That's awesome."
Yeah, and he suggested me to keep this connection with the Quincy Jones production and
Yeah.
work with them.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was crazy. That was one of.
And then it just happened. Like that was it.
Ladies and gentlemen, my friend MonoNeon.
Hey,
what's up, Mono?
I'm all right.
We're in Paris together.
Yep. I grew up around my grandma, and I grew up around here in Mavis. It's just comfort. That's why I probably wear quilts, because it's comfort. I like to be comfortable. That's all. I just like to be comfortable. Yeah.
Do you ever get hot in these quilts?
I'm hot now, but shit, I'm thugging it out. I'm gonna thug it out. I don't care how hot it is. I'm gonna wear my shit.
It's like the hottest day in Paris for the whole year, they're saying.
Yep. I don't care. I don't care how hot it is. I'm gonna wear all my quilts. As cliche as it may sound, just be yourself out here. Even if people are talking shit about you, just always be yourself, but continue to grow and cultivate what you're doing. Don't get complacent. Even when you have your own thing, it's so quick to. It can be so easy to when you have your own thing to just feel like, well, I'm the shit and all this. But don't do that. Keep your ears open, keep your mind open, your heart open, and just keep growing, keep listening, and still cultivate what you're doing. And just always be yourself. Just always be yourself, no matter what. I don't care where you are, who you with. Always be yourself, because the right people gonna come to you. The right frequency is gonna come to you if you just be yourself. That's all it is.
That's beautiful. Kaz Rodriguez.
What's up, my man?
How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, good. Thank you for having me.
You have synesthesia.
Yeah.
Which I want to talk about because someone who doesn't have it and researching it, it seems like, wow, that'd be amazing to have, but I'm sure there's also a downside to it.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, will you tell everyone like what that is in case they don't know, and then what it's like for you?
It's crazy. So like the whole story behind it is this, like synesthesia is it's kind of a rare phenomenon that it's a rare condition. Doesn't sound like good me saying condition, but it's a rare condition. Basically it's a form of, I see color in the way that I write music. So I'm self-taught as a drummer, as a keyboard player, as a composer. And I don't know what notes I play on the piano. And whenever I'm recording or anything like that, I'm very much using color as my source of inspiration.
Because when you hear sounds, you
Yeah.
see color.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have, like I play a crash cymbal and I'll hear like 3 or 4 chords in that. And I'll go on the piano and I'll be like, that sounds like this. Is blue, here's orange, here's green. And that's how I like wrote Rain and like all my songs. It's all based on what I hear. But the story behind that is purely based on when I was in a coma. Yeah, newsflash. Yeah.
All right, let's talk about this.
So the synesthesia, I had it lightly when I was a kid. And I always used to be picked on when people were, oh, you're weird, dude. Like, you're calling things blue and orange and turquoise and purple and stuff. And people thought I was like high or something. Like, I don't do drugs. So, but like I was just like, no, this sounds like blue and orange. And I never really understood it. But then when I was like 20, in my 20s, I ended up doing a session and in a part of London that I wasn't really safe, right? And then I got stabbed with a knife, and it was bad. Like I had the knife stuck in me here, right in my stomach here, and I lost a lot of blood. And I remember passing out, and then I woke up 3 months, 3 hours and 47 minutes later. Yeah.
Wow.
And I was out of my coma, and I woke up to music, and I woke up to Debussy. My mother realized that I always reacted to music when I was a kid, and I ended up waking up to Debussy because I was fascinated by classical music. That's why there's a lot of that influence in my music, with the movements. And I woke up, and she was like, "What? Like, it's crazy." And as I woke up, I could see color, like visually I could see color. I could never see it before. I could just like describe the colors of something when I was pre-stabbed.
Right.
And it just excelled, and it was just a phenomenal experience. And I couldn't walk, so I couldn't play drums. So it took me a while for my muscles and my body to like retrain to move again. And I just spent time on a piano, and I'd hear things like I heard birds singing, or I hear like the wind, and I just play music. Like it wasn't drum track related. It was just music. And I could realize I could compose about my environment. So I used to like show my friends, like, this is a song about the birds singing. And I was like, oh, here you go. And then I ended up writing a song about bird singing, which was Lotus, like on my 4th album, Synesthesia.
Welcome to the show, Ronald Bruner Jr. What was that 4 months with Prince?
Prince is always somebody that, you know, any guy wants to, you know, any musician wants to play with that, because he was a musician that was a star, but he was a musician. I get a phone call from someone, and it wasn't him, but the phone call was, are you available to leave tomorrow to go to Minnesota? Prince wants to play. Prince wants to, you know, play some music with you. I was like, yeah, I'm available. I'm down. It's like tomorrow. Cool. We have a car come pick you up. So we're hanging. So now we're starting to be social with Prince. Everything's going cool. We're social, and you know. So Prince comes up on stage. He sees everybody's warmed up, and Prince, you know, when he's on stage with fellow musicians, he likes to. I'll speed it up. He likes to let you know that like he's one of you when he's in that energy. When he's being a musician, he's not being the dude jumping around stage and doing splits off of pianos and, you know, he's not doing all that. He knows how to switch into the role of being a musician in a band. Like he knows how to turn that on, where it's not about the star, it's about how collectively he can do. So he turns into that guy. The Gemini turns into that guy. Now he's a buddy with us. Now we're on stage, and we're like in the garage, and like we're about to start working on our new show for this thing we're doing on Friday for the high school. It's like it's like that.
Nice.
So then he gets in the mic, he says, RBJ, do you know Stratus? And I looked at him and I was like, are you sure? And now Stratus is Billy Cobham's.
Yeah, of course.
So you're telling this Billy Cobham kid phenomenon,
you want me to go off?
You want me to play? Are you? And I said to him, "Are you sure?
Yeah.
Are you sure, Prince? If he was alive, he remember." I said, "Are you sure? You sure?" He was like, "What do you mean? Am I sure?" I said, "Are you sure?" So he looked at me. He was like, "Okay." Now, mind you, he doesn't know that I can do that. He just thinks I'm this guy.
Right.
Man, we start the tune, and we play the tune. I play very nicely. I don't play anything, any frills. Just give it a good feel. Feel good. Playing a groove. Just groove it. I just wanted to feel good. No chops. So then we get to his section. He solos, and we solos, and it gets to that part. And I looked at him and I was like. And I proceeded to beat the dog shit. I was knocking down cymbals, the drum set was crumbling. I was beating them drums so hard. I mean, it was like, God, I was, and then we got to, and then I had the double kick pedal. It was all the problem then, because it was like, and this was going, so you just heard like imagine just everybody in the neighborhood, I was playing drums for my life. I was playing drums that day. That one moment, I was like, I am going to show you who I am. He took his guitar off, and he took the guitar and threw it in the air. And this dude came out of nowhere and caught it. He's like, I swear to God. So this is the first time. So now his reaction was, all that, right? So he takes guitar and he's like, oh my God. He goes, he throws the guitar and this dude comes out, catches it. He goes, I'll see you tomorrow, RBJ.
Yes.
That was the gig.
Yes. Dude, he throw you the best bone pot. He didn't even realize it either. Could you do this?
He was like, can you know Stratus? Can you play Stratus? I was like, are you sure?
You were like, I've been waiting my
whole life for this moment. Man.
Dude, that was the pinnacle. That was the moment.
And then he said, I'll see you tomorrow. And I was like, wait, what? And then I was like, man, I was like, how you gonna see me tomorrow? I don't know what's going on. So he's like, I said, so I went, I'm like, man, I'm supposed to go back home. I got other gigs and stuff going on, And so I told, I said, I told his assistant, I said, you had me sitting here for a week, man. What are we doing? And I didn't know Prince had shows lined up. He had something he had to do. So he don't tell you that. When you're with Prince, you're just with Prince. Whatever Prince does, you just in it. Whatever, if Prince feels like we gonna go over here and play it, random, whatever. So you got to be aware of that. So I was like, man, Prince was standing on the other side of the room. He's going to the sound, the mixing console, whatever. And so the assistant came up. So Prince was standing. He came back to stage, and so Prince heard me. I was like, man, this is crazy. I wasn't mad, but I was upset that I had never been put in a situation where I was kind of taken advantage of. You're just sitting there like a stupid, just waiting to find out what. So I kind of got a little funny. I was like, man, this is weird.
You felt a little disrespected.
Yeah, I felt a little disrespected.
Yeah.
So Prince walks up. And he goes, so he hears me talking to his assistant. He walks up and he goes, he said, so he's listening to me. I'm like, P. I'm like, so I start directing it at him. Hey, P, I know you're super busy, and I'm so humbled and appreciate this opportunity, and I will be here for you. But man, this has been weird. He's like, give me your account number. And I was like, what? Like, give your account number to what's her name? I was like, for real? I woke up that next morning with the most money I ever got paid in a one-time thing.
Yes.
And I was like, I'm good.
Yeah.
I went to the Mall of America and blew that motherfucker.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm live here with Stanley Randolph. Cheers, Stanley.
Oh, yeah.
You played a 30-minute version of Giant Steps with Stevie Wonder as your first time. You and him a duo.
Yes.
Man, I wish I could be a fly on the wall for that. And then what?
And then he told me, he was like, you know what, man, you got great groove, you got the gig. Then that's it. He had his engineer to give me an iPod. I still have the iPod to this day with all of his songs on there. It had to be something like anywhere between 300 to 400 songs on there, bro. And he said, learn as much as you can. We go on tour in 2 weeks.
No way.
Yep.
And were you like, hell yeah?
Honestly, bro. And I know this is going to sound crazy, but I didn't grow up on Stevie Wonder, man.
Really?
No.
Even being from Memphis and everything?
No, I didn't.
Like
I knew the typical songs that everybody knows, like Superstition, Happy Birthday. I Just Called to Say I Love You. I knew those records.
You knew the hits.
The hits.
Yeah.
But Brandon, my brother, he was a Stevie Wonder fanatic. So much to the point to where it used to get on my nerves. Every time I get in the car with him, he literally had this is back when they had CDs. So he had the CD book. It had every Stevie Wonder album that he's ever done, every single, all on CDs. So he played a lot of Stevie Wonder's music. And what's crazy is he would play the stuff so much. I wasn't really paying attention.
Yeah.
I knew it was great. It was great music, but I wasn't paying attention. I was more into, I was heavily on Dave Weckl and Vinny and Steve Gadd and stuff like that.
You were deep in the fusion.
You know what I'm saying?
I was deep in the
fusion.
I remember
into that, bro. So I wasn't really listening to soul and funk and stuff and even my mom, bro. My mom listened to Anita Baker and Toni Braxton and people like that. So we didn't have any Stevie Wonder music in the crib. So yeah, when I got the gig,
I called Brandon ASAP and was like, bro, I just, and people are going to be like, surprised, but I wasn't like blown away. I was just like, man, okay, I got all this music to learn.
I got to go to work.
I know this is a great gig to have. And like my brother would be shitting bricks right now if he knew what I was doing, So, I hit up Brandon ASAP and was like, bro, I need your help. Like, I just need you to walk me through. And I know you play this music all the time and I should have been listening, paying attention, but I wasn't. But I need you to walk me through it right now.
Yeah.
Like, like the whole vibe. And, I got the gig, so I need help learning this stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I remember I went on a tour and I didn't know everything, but what's crazy is even on the DVD, a lot of those records we play, bro, once I really, really understood what seat I was in, and I went back to listen to the originals. Luckily, some of the patterns I played were, 90% right.
Just by intuition?
By intuition, bro. And I really think it's from me sitting in the car with my brother and subconsciously taking that music in.
100%. All those years.
All those years, yeah. So, luckily, because on the DVD, that was probably like my first month there. Literally, we had just started the tour and went straight to London and recorded a DVD. I think I learned from Stevie, if you listen to his records, bro, his records are not perfect. Even though we listen to it and it's a masterpiece and it's art.
Yeah.
If you're trying to be the perfect drummer, he wasn't the perfect drummer.
Right.
But it was all feel and soul and, you know what I'm saying? And of course, him being able not to really see and he has to guess what he's hitting.
Yeah.
There's a lot of flubs and stuff in there.
Yeah.
So I understand when he told me, like, yo, if you're going to play it wrong, play it loud and wrong. You know what I'm saying? Because he's played it loud and wrong on albums for years.
And it's the perfect feel.
And it's the perfect feel.
Yeah.
It's all about, it's it coming from the heart and from the soul. And So, like I said, that's still one of my biggest lessons I live by to this day. Plenty of times I've, messed up. Like I probably didn't touch the drums for 2-3 weeks and then I get on and I'm a little rusty or whatever. But even in that, listening back to me play or whatever, it's like, yo, it's still magic in that. You know what I'm saying? So I live by that whole rule.
If you're going to play it wrong, play it loud and wrong.
Yeah, because
you can put that into anything in life. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Adam Arrigo. He's the co-founder and CEO of Wave XR. Wave is the leading metaverse concert company. If you saw any of the crazy metaverse concerts with The Weeknd, Justin Bieber, and most recently Calvin Harris just a few days ago, that was this guy.
I would say if you're a musician, as I said, you don't have to jump in right now, but I think familiarizing yourself with video game engines like Unity and Unreal, or some of the platforms that kids are currently using. Because remember, like, it's not gonna happen overnight. Like right now, a lot of young people are like living their lives in Roblox and Minecraft, but they're starting to get older and becoming like sort of the consumers of tomorrow that are gonna get jobs and have money. And meanwhile, all the technology is developing. Meta is releasing new headsets. A bunch of new other big companies are jumping in. So there's going to be a convergence over the next like 3 to 5 years where this is going to be a real market. And you're already starting to see some artists going into Roblox and making a living, or in the same way that TikTok like spawned big artists like, Lil Nas X and others. So like you can have a first mover advantage if you go onto these platforms and find a friend that like kind of understands video games. This is all video games, by the way. Like there's all this hype around the metaverse and Web3 and whatever. Like for me, the metaverse is just gaming.
It's all video games. Yeah.
Because this has been happening like since World of Warcraft and MMOs and guilds. And it's like people are modeling social behaviors in these spaces and culture is happening, and increasingly so now. But it's still on a trajectory to happen. It hasn't happened yet. So this is a great time to like download Roblox. Like it's going to be a weird experience for you if you're not a gamer, especially if you're over the age of 12. But just try to understand how some of these like experiences are getting more popular. And then, yeah, if you find a friend that can develop for any type of gaming engine, whether it's one of the, complex ones like Unreal, or it's just the level creator in Roblox, which is like a scripting language, that technology is going to get easier and easier and easier, especially with the advent of AI, which is going to actually kind of remove the need for needing any game development chops whatsoever. If you guys have seen DALL-E 2 or ChatGPT, like you can now generate a photo just using text and it looks really, really good. So the same is going to be true for building 3D content, like in Roblox and Fortnite and in our platform. So it might be as easy for you to just use text to describe the thing you want to build. And that's going to happen like in the next 5 years. So start familiarizing yourself with these spaces. We are building the definitive venue and platform for musicians. And so, we're going to be releasing a toolkit that makes it really easy for musicians that don't necessarily have any coding chops to express themselves in this way. And then if you want to do something more advanced, like there's a layer that requires more technical know-how. But like, this is such a good time. And I feel like right now, the people that start to learn this space and this tech they're going to be like the next like Lil Nas X or like the next Doja Cat.
And all of a sudden this use case presents itself, whether it's a global pandemic where you're like, oh, wait, it makes sense for us to be in the metaverse and for us to sit at home and watch a concert that is this, and I can see it and I can communicate to my friends. Where before COVID, you'd be like, but why am I going to do that? I don't need to. I could just go see Travis Scott or Calvin Harris when they play. But now it's like, oh, and then you realize, and then it goes deeper and deeper into it, and these more and more use cases come out of it, and you're like, okay, now I see. And then now we are in a concert world again, and yet these virtual shows are still happening, and they're going to be continually evolving.
Well, you're touching on a larger point, which I think is an interesting parallel between entrepreneurship and being a musician, which I feel like I learned a lot from the latter to succeed at the former, which is like, back to the idea of hype bubbles. There are trend setters and there are trend chasers. And sometimes it's hard to distinguish between the two. Harmonix, Roblox, like Roblox was is now worth tens of billions of dollars. They were around for over 10 years building out the foundation of that tech. And now that it's kind of coming to fruition, they hit an inflection point where they figured it out and now it's working. Like tons and tons of kids are socializing in these 3D spaces. I mean, I think that platform, in addition to Fortnite, VR chat, like that is the metaverse right now, like Second Life. And when you're a musician, sometimes it's hard to sort of have an original vision and be like, this is my sound, I'm sticking to it, when it's not popular. Yeah. Those artists that are slaving away for 10 years and they're like, this is my sound, I refuse to adapt to something that's more commercial.
For sure.
I'm not going to use drum machines or electronic beats. And but the way that I think both pop music and technology go is that by the time something gets popular, like it is on trend, it's already too late. Like that's when everyone rushes in, whether it's a subset of dance music, or when I was in a band in Boston, it was just like, the Strokes were really popular and there was a very specific style of eighth note downstroke guitar.
Yep.
By the time that hit, all of the bands in Boston, like we were all trying to copy that sound, but then by the time we started playing shows, everyone sounded the same. And so how do you be original and sort of have the gall to stick to it for a long time and wait for that moment? Because it's hard. And then also sometimes that moment never comes and you're just like, maybe I should have given in. I should have like sold out.
That's why, luck is preparation meets opportunity, right? So you got to be prepared. That's what you can actually control.
Yep.
So only go after what you can control and manage that. So you doing you and you sticking to your vision and working hard on something, and also push on yourself, keep asking yourself why, to make sure that what you're working on is even something that you're excited about.
Yeah.
Genuinely.
It's
right?
true. Because you're not going to get through the tough times as an entrepreneur or a musician if you're not passionate about what you're doing.
She is the CEO of Splice. She has an incredible background in tech and community products. So let's make a ton of noise for Kakul Srivastava. So you were already on the board of Splice. And then how did you get the gig of becoming CEO of Splice?
So Steve had reached out to me to have
Steve Martocci,
who is the founder and was the CEO at the time. He reached out to me to have me join the company in some way. I was like, oh, that doesn't make sense. I really love what I'm doing at Adobe. Got a big team here, et cetera, et cetera. But some time later, I was like, I'm thinking about leaving Adobe, and I just like, I gotta let Steve know just because he should know. And he's like, wait, you're leaving Adobe and you haven't talked to us yet? And we talked a lot about what the right role would be. And ultimately, he and the board asked me to join as CEO. And
wow,
that was a really big responsibility. But I feel incredibly grateful and proud that they trusted me with this important role. Sometimes a really small group of people can do extraordinary things.
Yeah.
My first experience with this was when I was at Flickr. I think we were like 7-10 people.
Wow.
And we were running a site that was reaching 100 million users.
That's amazing.
It was really extraordinary. And At that time, at least in my mind, I was learning. I was just absorbing everything, and it was a lot about what does it mean to be a super team.
Yep.
And I have tried to replicate that idea over and over and over again, and that's what I'm trying to build here at Splice. So it's not about having a big team. It's about having the right group of people who are motivated by a big mission, and then you just try to take all the obstacles out of their way. And that's what we're doing. So that's one thing. It doesn't have to be a big team. But if you do have
and even 10, 15 years later, whatever, it's really the same strategies can be used. To solve problems.
It's human nature. You know this.
Yeah,
you know this. It's human nature over and over and over again.
Just simply removing obstacles can do a lot.
It's a lot, yeah. But it's hard to find them. And sometimes it's not easy to know what's coming in the way. Sometimes it's cultural stuff. One of the things that I noticed at Splice, and we talk about it a lot, is, in fact, it came out of my listening tour.
Yeah.
I was like, we have ghosts here. We have behaviors that were learned based on how people behaved who are no longer working here.
Wow.
But those imprint of those behaviors, those imprints of, well, product does it this way, and they always do it this way, or engineering always does it this way. Those ghosts exist, but those people who created those negative behaviors are long gone. So how do we kill the ghosts? And we talk about that all the time. And,
wow.
we'll be talking about something like, and someone will say, oh, well, product did blah, blah, blah. I'm like, did they really? Or is that a ghost? And we have that conversation, and it makes it, and so sometimes these obstacles can be things you can't see.
That's got to be really empowering to the still current employees.
Yeah,
too.
because we can challenge some of these cultural imprints that are not healthy for us.
Where is the state of AI today? Where do you think it'll be in 1 year? And then where do you think it'll be in 5 years?
Yeah. So I think AI is super interesting. I think there's a lot of really fun things that can happen with it. I think it could be a really powerful tool in the hands of artists. But I think that's the important thing, is the artists have to put their hands on it.
Yeah.
And, we were talking about empathy earlier. I think there's, especially being the CEO of Splice, I think there's a divide between musicians and technologists.
Yes.
Because both work at my company. And sometimes there's a lot of misconceptions, right? Like tech is too complicated, it's too hard. Certainly for me, looking at Ableton or Logic or any of these tools, I was like, wow, this is really hard.
Yeah.
And so there's a sense of, that's not really for me.
Yes.
I didn't do math. I don't do science. I'm a musician. I'm an artist.
He's doing a lot right now. You know him from his work with Her, Anderson .Paak, Miss Lauryn Hill, Mac Miller, J. Cole. There's a lot of artists. We're going to talk all about it. Ladies and gentlemen, Jeff Gitty. How does the Lauryn Hill gig come up?
Exactly, right. So when I graduated from Berkeley, I came back, and honestly, came right back home, lived in the same room with my parents, and honestly went back to playing with the same band. So I was rehearsing with a band that I was playing in high school, and I got a call on my cell phone. I just got a cell phone, and it was from a number, and it was one of my friends from school. Now, it wasn't one of the most popular kids, so I was like, okay, I'll call him right back. It's fine. I'll call him back. And so we finished the rehearsal set, and we were going to do another little run the set again. All right, everybody go to the bathroom, use bathroom break. So I went to the bathroom, and I checked the message, and he was like, bro, pick up. I'm in Boston. Lauryn Hill is having auditions, and she asked me if I know any guitar players. I'm only recommending you. Call me back. And I'm like, what? So I'm like, yo. He said, come here right now. Come to Boston right now. I'm in New Haven, Connecticut. I'm like, okay, I'm on my way. So I literally get in rehearsal. I'm like, guys, I gotta go. I gotta go right now to audition for Lauryn Hill. So I got on the car, I already had the guitar. I drove straight to Boston. It was maybe 3-hour drive. I got to the studio, and it was myself and a couple other people, and the audition began. And so we started recording, writing, and before you know it, that was maybe 6 p.m. Recorded all night in the studio till maybe 11 a.m.
That was the audition was recorded?
It wasn't even, the audition lasted maybe the first 20 minutes. She came, she said, do you know how to play flamenco? And
I'm not a real flamenco player, but I had chops to fucking fake it, and I did it. She was like, oh, and that was it. It was like maybe 15 seconds.
And that's a curveball too.
No,
You're not thinking
was.
Lauryn Hill's going to be like, can you play flamenco?
I remember thinking after it, like coming back and almost being like, I mean, some of the singers who were with her for a while, they were kind of bullying me. I was the youngest one, you know what I'm saying? And they were kind of bullying me like a little bit, I felt, you know what I'm saying? And like, I came back being like, oh, like, this was wasn't the dream gig. Like, what? So I remember thinking like, okay, if this is what the business is, either I just give up now and do something else, or fuck it, I keep going.
Yeah.
And I remember having to think that and being like, okay, keep going. Now, that was technically one of the worst situations. So I'm glad that my first experience in the business was not great. You
Very
know what I mean?
difficult,
Because it really helped set the tone and like
This
the
is gonna be hard.
expectation, like the expectation of what this
Yeah.
shit is. Luckily, it does get better and it does get easier. So I'm glad I made that decision. But in some ways, it really conditioned me to I call it having like a spiritual shield around you.
Alicia Keys was next.
And then the rest of my life began. This is this
after
crazy
that,
story.
right?
So this really, I didn't know what to do. I came back. I was just like confused, a little traumatized, a little broken. Like, okay, what do I do now? Like, do I keep doing this? And then so this story literally changed my life and literally is where I am today. I was living back with my parents. I would just say yes to everything. I'm just anybody that had anything, I'll do a gig, right? And so there was this group of, they were like dentists or doctors from like, they weren't real professional musicians. They were just like, what we call weekend warriors, right? So they really weren't great musicians. They were just, let's have some fun on the weekend. And they were horn section. Now, trumpet and violin are the two instruments. Like, you might not have played piano for 20 years, but if you walk up to it, you could just get a touch, like, and get a sound and remember some things. Same with drums. Trumpet and violin, if you don't really play that shit, you're going to sound horrible. Let me tell you, this horn section, bro, oh my God, they were so bad. Here I'm coming right off of the road in London playing with Lauryn Hill. And like, now I'm like playing in this band of like with the worst sounding, like, and they're trying to do like Tower of Power, Earth, Wind and Fire. They're trying to do like Shining Star, like real intricate horn shit. And they sound like doo-doo. And I'm like in rehearsal, like, why am I doing this? Like, this sounds horrible. This is not a good look for me, and this is not enjoyable. So we go home. They're like, yeah, we'll see you tomorrow at the session. And I'm like, I go home, and my girlfriend at the time, the night of, like, the session starts at like 7 p.m. and it's like 6, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I changed my mind. This is below me. Yeah. Like, I am tired. They don't even have the money. I'm like, they're paying me in pizza. Like, they're getting pizza. Like, what? Like, this is crazy. I just got back from London. This is nuts. Like, why am I doing this? She was like, listen, you committed to it. Be a man of your word. Go and do it. And the better you do, the quicker you get the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
I'm like, bet. You're right. You're right. I'll do that. And so in wanting to, like, be a man of my word, I went. And I'm setting up, I'm playing guitar, like in the room, getting the sound before we start. And through the glass, I see somebody walking in. This is in the middle of West Haven, Connecticut, in the middle of nowhere. I see somebody walking through, and I'm like, oh, that looks like Bobby Brown. And I'm like, oh, that is Bobby Brown. And then, so I started playing something, and then he's walking, he stops, and I see him through the glass look at me. And I'm like playing, and then he starts talking to the engineer, like, and they're like pointing at me, and all of a sudden I hear on the loudspeaker, "Hey, Jeff, can you come on in the control room, please?" So I come in, and Bobby Brown's like, "Oh, I heard you play over there. Like, you sound amazing. I'm recording downstairs. Maybe when you're done with this session, you could come and lay something down." I'm like, sick. So now I'm pumped. Yeah. Finish the session. It's like midnight. I go downstairs. We're hanging. He was basically there in West Haven, Connecticut, because he was in rehab down the street, and so he was like around people that like cared about him. He wasn't, you know what I mean? He wasn't using, wasn't drinking, and so we're they're making music downstairs, and I'm like, they're like, yo, can you play on guitar on a track we're working on? So I play guitar on the track, and he loves it. He's like, man, you're amazing. I have a gig next Thursday at Toad Splice, which was the Connecticut venue. I have the whole band. I just don't have a guitar player. Would you join me? I'm like, yo, this night is working out amazing. Like, okay. So he's like, okay, cool. I'm going to put you in touch with everybody next Thursday, but we're going to do a rehearsal. Cool. So then I get hit up, and they're like, okay, we're rehearsing in New York City. So I go to New York City, and it's an all-star New York City band that's playing the show. Besides me, I'm the only one not from New York. And so the bass player is this guy by the name of Steve Rodriguez, but goes by Steve Styles. And we meet, we connect, we do this Bobby Brown gig, become friends, and then Bobby has like a little run. We do like the Tom Joyner cruise. And so we become friends through it. And then he at the time was playing with Alicia Keys. And so he was like, yo, I think there might be like a switching of chairs. I want to introduce you to the musical director, Andre Gill. To see maybe, you guys could connect because he might be looking for a guitar player. And I'm like, what? So I meet Andre. We really connect, by the way. Shout out to Andre Gill. Is one of my mentors. As the story progresses, you'll see he's one of the people that really took a chance on me and did some of the most for me in this business than anybody has. And I consider my brother, and I learned just so much from. And so anyway, shout out to Andre Gill. But yeah, so I connect with Andre, and then he said, listen, there's a show we're doing with Alicia. I want you to do it, And so I remember it was 2006. And I was like, yo, bet. So he sends me the music to learn. And so I'm like, oh, interesting set. Cool. I love these songs. And I'm like, yo, we're doing a bunch of David Bowie songs. This is dope. I'm obsessed with Bowie. So yeah, this is easy. And then I'm like, I get the call sheet, and it says, band arrived, band set up, Mr. Bowie arrives, blah, blah. And I'm like, wait, hold up. What does that say? Mr. Bowie arrived. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to be playing with David Bowie. So my first gig with Alicia is a benefit concert, Black Ball, that she started in order to fundraise money for, I believe it was children with AIDS in Africa. Mm-hmm. So David Bowie, it was somebody else, Damian Marley. And so, yeah, I start my journey with Alicia with that one show. And then so I remember meeting Alicia because I knew who Alicia's manager was, this guy by the name of Jeff Robinson. And I remember meeting him after the show, after I did well. I was like, okay, wow, I did it. Like my first show with Alicia, with David Bowie, all these people, and like maybe I'll get in the band, maybe they like me, maybe I'll actually, nobody promised me anything, so maybe this will lead to a permanent position, right? And so I remember walking up to Jeff Robinson and be like, I know who you are, like I love, I respect your work, like so honored. I mean, he was like, yeah, maybe we'll have you join the band. Okay, so that was a very important interaction for me.
Yeah.
So then I ended up joining the band a year later.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're live with Mark Guiliana. You got to do the last David Bowie album, Black Star. Unbelievable. I have so many questions about that. But I think it ties into like, because I feel like you on St. Vincent was you doing St. Vincent. And I feel like you doing David Bowie was David Bowie working with you, where it was still like drum and bassy, or it was like, it felt like your electronica kind of vibe and like not just like straight, Omar Hakim Bowie rhythms or anything like that. Right. It was very much stylized still for you. So how did you get the gig with Bowie? What was it like working with Bowie? Let's talk for a minute.
Yeah. So let's see. It all started from his relationship with this woman named Maria Schneider, who's an amazing composer, arranger in New York. And she has this incredible, kind of like a big band, but it's not traditional jazz in any way. But he was a fan of hers. And I think he just approached her like, hey, could we want to work on something together? So they had this one song, and there was something in the song that reminded her of me or something. And she called me and said, hey, I'm working on the song with David Bowie. Would you want to do it? And I said, yes. And then, And then, so we did that one song. So it was me playing with her band. You know, we did a day at Avatar in New York, and he was there, and he was great. We did a couple of rehearsals first. And
what was that like? Even there, like the initial meeting and collabing with him?
Oh, it was incredible. So, well, let's see. Okay. She brought him to the 55 bar to hear us, which is wild.
First,
so there's like,
before you met him.
Yeah.
So he got to see you play first.
Yeah. So
ideal situation. Yeah.
Well, that was the thing. It was like, you're not wrong in that. It was like, cause he hired us as a band.
Yeah.
It's Donnie McCaslin playing saxophone, Jason Lindner playing keys, Tim LaFave playing bass, and myself. We had been playing, we made a couple records under Donnie's name.
Yep.
I had been
Love those albums. Everyone listen to those.
Thank you. I had been playing with Jason and Tim in like different versions of beat music for years. So we all had a long relationship, and he hired us as a band. So yeah, you're correct in saying that like he was the new guy, which is kind of trippy, you know?
Amazing.
But yeah, that first track, because Donnie was in Maria's band. So those first rehearsals, what's that rehearsal space on like 27th Street? Euphoria. I don't know if you know, it's a normal little rehearsal space. And it was like David and Tony Visconti, who was producing the track, and then Maria was basically the rhythm section, and then like saxophone and trombone. Just to start, Maria hadn't yet done the full arrangement, so it was to like work out ideas. And he was just so kind, and it was quite normal and all these things. You know, he was there early and left late, and was like, hey, can you run that section again? I just want to record it so I could, you know, write to it at home or work on it at home. Just all about the music, you know, and super kind.
Wow.
And yeah, so that day in the studio was great. And then I think it was even Maria's idea. I think he wanted to do more stuff with her, and she said, you should just do a record with those guys. And I was like, okay. So he had reached out to Donnie. Donnie, you know, after they met at that session, he started sending him music, and then we started making the record. You know, that was at the Magic Shop in New York, which is now closed, but we did like 3 1-week sessions. And it was amazing. But yeah, he really encouraged us to like do our thing, and on several occasions would reference like, hey, I love on that beat music. You know, we made this weird record like 8 years ago, the Los Angeles Improvisations. Jeff Babco, Tim, myself, and Troy Ziegler, and we just improvised. And I
saw you do that at Blue Whale.
Okay, exactly. So he would reference that record. He'd be like, oh yeah, I really love what you did here. Maybe you could try stuff like that. It's like, oh my God, David Bowie's sitting at home like listening to this record, you know.
So many incredible things happening.
Yeah. So it was, it really felt super comfortable and intuitive. And I think, you know, some people were like, you know, many people were asking like, were you nervous? And it's like, maybe there were like flashes of that, but anytime there was a moment of like, holy shit, this is a David Bowie record, I would look out and it's like Tim, Jason, Tim telling some dumb joke to like, you know, and it's just like, oh, I'm with my homies.
It's your family.
Yeah. And then that's David Bowie over there.
And then the new guy.
Yeah.
He's doing pretty good.
But you know, I'm no expert on his career, but when you look back, like that's not, it's pretty consistent with like the Young Americans era. It's like hires this like sick band that's already kind of a community, and he inserts himself into that too, writes new songs and gives that thing, and then kind of the Let's Dance thing, and then this and the, you know, when he would jump around, it would be, it's not so inconsistent with what we did. And I think the whole point, like Tony Visconti had a funny line that I read in an interview. He was like, yeah, our idea for this record was instead of hiring rock guys to play jazz, we hired some jazz guys to play rock. You know? And that's, you know, obviously oversimplified, but also that's kind of cool, you know?
Oh, it's so cool. And that must have felt so validating because he loves you for your creative self and your music.
It was a huge license. That also alleviated any pressure. It's like, no, just do your thing. It's
Exactly.
like, and he was like egging us on. I remember a couple times, all the songs had demos with just like program parts. And I would try to be true to the demo, honor his ideas. And we would do a take and be like, okay, cool. But like, go. He even said one time, he was like, Mark, I know what you're capable of. Something like that.
Amazing.
So kind of like, literally, egging us on and being like, no, go.
Do you?
Because that 55 bar gig was like, we were just throwing down, playing too loud and too much. And so that was really fun.
Amazing, dude.
Yeah.
Cimafunk.
Yes, sir. How's it going, brother?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Super nice, man. Happy to see you, brother.
How is the industry like in Cuba? Is there much of an industry?
It's 100% another scene.
Yeah.
We need to have a couple hours here for me to tell you how it works when I was like making my first album release there. But it's different. The people just find a way to make their own distribution of music, to make their own way to produce music. I produced my first album in my room in the house, and I mix with couple mixer friends of mine that helped me with that, and I distribute in a different way, completely different. And it's another way of send music to every house.
Yeah,
that called El Paquete, and it's completely different. It's another kind of invention. It's great, a great invention. It works 100%. It's like analogic internet.
Yeah.
You share the information through the hands. You got many people giving you information every week, the things that you need, and you got all the lists, a curator of music, all the hits in Cuba and stuff. It's a really crazy stuff, but it works.
What was it like working with George Clinton?
A crazy experience, man. A magical experience. The Funkadelics experience.
Yeah.
For real. He just say yes. I want to do the song with Sima, and I didn't send him the song. Actually, Colin sent me all the music.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, I want to do it.
Nice.
And we take a flight to Nashville, to another place that he lived.
Tallahassee?
Tallahassee, no?
Yeah.
Tallahassee, yeah. To Tallahassee, and then we just arrived there. We was in the studio waiting for him, and super nervous. I'm yours. I'm a big fan of.
Yeah.
It's more than a fan. I'm more than a fan of yours. And then we was waiting outside, like just 10, 11, and then we start to hear a speaker sound like you. Some really, really acid rap, hip hop, funk. So George arrived in this white car with a roof, with his clothes, and his wife, that she's a beautiful person also. And they just get down to the car, say, yo, my man, what's up, bro? It's like, yeah, thank you, bro. Let's go to the studio. We will spend the whole day recording in the studio with our headphones. It was just recording the voice live in the microphone and just talking about Cuban music and about Afro-Cuban groove.
Yeah.
He's a big fan. He was telling me history when he was a barber in a barbershop in New York, and he was listening Perez Prado and all the music that, all the Afro-Cuban music that arrived to New York that changed at some point many of the groove that is happening now in the States. So it was a really crazy story with him, because all the time was like music back with knowledge, with passion, with that scene that sometimes you sing that it's not longer important, but it's the most important.
For sure.
That is the spirit and the connection with the happiness and the healthy. And he's still there. He got that, and he spread that all the time, 100%.
Ladies and gentlemen, Isaiah Sharkey.
What's up?
So you're very known for playing with D'Angelo and playing with John Mayer. So did playing with them rub off on you in terms of your growth as a songwriter?
Absolutely. I was a fan of D'Angelo since I was probably 10 years old.
Yeah.
And so then I was listening a lot more to just the music, just the groove, and trying to check out who's playing on the albums. And then once I had to start playing and singing a little background with them, I had to learn the words and checking out the lyrics and stuff like that. And then, of course, John Mayer, he's a great songwriter. I think that he's like a Paul Simon to me, with his writing.
Yeah.
And so, a lot of their songwriting rubbed off on me. A lot of their approach rubbed off on me. And everybody else that I've ever worked with, I think, all of the experiences help kind of put a gumbo together.
How did you get the gig with D'Angelo?
I was doing a gospel session in Richmond, Virginia, back in probably like 2017, 2018. And in the gospel arena, they like to do a lot of, like, whenever they do a live recording, they tend to do a live DVD recording too, or at that time DVD. And so they wanted us to dress a certain way, but they told us what we had to wear, in the middle of the week during the rehearsal. So me and my guys, we were trying to find some place to get, some gear to wear. And so there was like a little strip mall and a clothing store, Walmart, and then like a mom and pop music store. And so being musicians, we gonna check out the music store first.
Of course.
So we go to the music store, we're messing around, and this guy walks out from the back of the store that, it was a door that had that said guitar lessons. So he walks out, it's a little heavy, and he had a guy walking with him carrying his case. And I said, I'm being, jokester. I'm like, it's a fake ass D'Angelo.
Oh God.
Who's this guy look-alike cat? Now, I didn't study into, at the time, I didn't study in Google like D'Angelo, but I knew all the records and I knew who played on what, so I didn't know he was from Richmond. So I'm like, wait a minute, he looks a lot like him. So I went out of the store and I said, I don't mean to bother you. Are you D'Angelo? He's like, yeah. He was hesitant. He's like, yeah, I am. And I told him I knew Spanky. And I told him I, love his music, obviously. Thank you for your music. And that was it.
Yeah.
And he was like, I was just thinking about Spanky in the store, and man, I was taking lessons in the back, and I was talking about him, and I felt like I felt his presence or his spirit, because he had passed on by then.
Yeah, yeah.
He's like, but I heard some guitar playing, and it reminded me of him. Was that you playing in the store? I said, yeah. We go back in the store, and I started playing. He's like, give me your number.
No way.
And then he got my number. Now, what's funny is he got the wrong number. He put the wrong number in his phone. And so I was like freaking out, called my brothers like, yo, D'Angelo hit me. He wants me to, he wanted my number. I got home, maybe 2 weeks passed, nothing. And then I get a call from the store in Richmond, and they said that he came back to the store to get my number.
No way.
Yeah.
He really wanted to find you.
He came back to the store and asked for my number if somebody can get in touch with me. And so they got it. Somebody at the store knew somebody that was in the band, got my number, and then he called me and then asked me to be a part of his band. And that's how it started.
So you literally stumbled into D'Angelo's local music store
in Richmond,
Virginia, where he happened to be taking guitar lessons.
Yep.
And he heard you play, thought someone sounded like Spanky.
Yep.
Got your number, got it wrong, wanted to reach out to you so bad that he called the store to get, dude, that's fate.
Yeah, it is. It's divine, because, even before that, I had met Spanky probably 3 years prior, and me and him hit it off really well.
From Time for Three, Nick Kendall.
Classical music and the system and the business does have structure that you have to work within is good to some respect, but sometimes it becomes stifling. And I think, again, it can be very judgmental, very cliquey. It's also the fact that and a lot of people don't realize this, but the biggest orchestras in the States are nonprofits. So
I did not know that.
Yes. So this is a nonprofit institution. The idea of orchestras, very much kind of like the museum or the library. It's the board who puts millions of dollars into these institutions to enrich the community.
Mm. So all the Philharmonics and everything
are all nonprofits.
Wow.
And so it's a beautiful thing. I mean, it's really wonderful because...
Who starts these nonprofits? Is it like a museum? Is it a government?
No, it's a board. It's a
board comes together.
Board comes together and they all donate. I mean, these family foundations that have to give away money anyway.
Yeah.
they'll give it to the museum, they'll give it to the Boys and Girls Club, they'll give it to the local whatever they love, and the symphony if they enjoy that or value that.
Yeah.
In our history, the change really needs to happen from the board level, and it is, because those have also been very exclusive.
Right.
Generally speaking, rich white people,
older males probably,
and just across the board.
Yeah.
And that's just how it's been. It's not bad that it's been that way. It's just how it's been.
That is how it is. Yeah.
And because this is a European art form, the classical music, right? And so in the States, the boards have not been diversified. They haven't been open to it or know to be open to it. And now everybody realizes that if you're really calling yourself a community center, like an orchestra is a nonprofit, then we have to act like it and we have to look like it. So from the board level, we're seeing change happen, which means
amazing
that the staff is starting to look different.
Yeah.
That the local communities are now, you see people of color now on stage, so that the local schools, inner city kids now don't only see a certain kind of face, they recognize themselves, and they say, I never thought of playing the violin before, but that's so cool.
Yeah.
That my girl Ty Murray is up there playing, and maybe I can do that.
Yeah, I can do it. Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff that needs to change, but that's something fundamental that's happening right now.
We have an incredible guest for you today, and his name is Austin Beutner. Austin was the deputy mayor of the city of Los Angeles. He was the CEO of LA Times, and he was the superintendent of the Los Angeles Unified School District, which is the largest school district in California and the second largest in our country. He is also the author and creator of Proposition 28. So what is Proposition 28?
Proposition 28 provides the funding for schools to make sure each and every one of the 6 million kids in California public schools can participate in arts and music at schools. Now, why does that matter? I don't know that I need to tell you, but we all have our story of arts, right?
Yeah.
Mine's a kid who changed elementary schools a bunch as a young child. My parents took different jobs. Coming to a new school in the middle of 5th grade, did not know a soul. My concern that day was not literacy or math. It was, who was I going to have lunch with? I didn't know anybody. Fortunately, I was invited to a music class. Teacher handed me a cello. Cello became bass. Bass became guitar. I could play in front of thousands of people before I can speak in front of tens of people.
Yeah.
But it all started with that sense of belonging, that sense of agency, a group, being part of something. And that's my story. And you have your story. And all of us have a story on how the art has made us whole as people, has helped provide the glue to our education. But sadly, in the state of California, barely 1 in 5 kids have had the chance to participate in arts and music at schools.
Wow.
So we solved the problem. Sometimes to solve a problem, you need to make it a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
So we went directly to the voters in the state of California and said, listen, we can take money the state already has, no new taxes, and we're going to dedicate $1 billion a year to make sure every kid can participate. We'll hire about 15,000 teachers statewide, and every school is going to have arts and music, and every kid has a chance to participate in whether it's the cello that I found in 5th grade in that group, your journey on drums and music, art, dance, animation, theater. Everybody's got a chance to participate. We're all in, and we know it's going to do great things for kids in California.
If you don't know, School Gig is a brand new platform that Jamcard built in conjunction with Proposition 28 to make sure we built it correctly and hit all the right things. And so if you are an artist and you are interested in becoming a teacher, you can go to schoolgig.us and create an account for free and see the jobs that are there. So you can build your profile out, say your level of education, the subjects that you'd be interested in teaching. If it's because another thing that's really important is this is everything from preschool through high school. So you could say you're interested in high school or elementary school or all of the above, whatever it is, but you can see all the opportunities. So if you are a musician, a producer, a songwriter, an artist, a visual artist, a dancer, computer programming is even covered in this. If you're any form of artist and you're interested in teaching, you can go to schoolgig.us and see the current availabilities and the jobs that are hiring. And we're adding more and more jobs every day because it's the beginning of this. So it is a platform for free for you to find all of this.
Yeah. And one of the things when Aloe introduced us, we started talking, what's the problem we're trying to solve? How does this help? Traditionally, if a school's looking for a music teacher, we'll just stay with music. It could be, as you said, dance or animation, theater, lots of different things.
Yeah.
They'll call a school district. and they'll say, "You got any music teachers?" No. Call back next year. On to the next. And so schools don't do much recruiting before they're beyond their four walls. School districts don't do much recruiting outside the boundaries of their schools. And in today's day and age, whether it's a Jam Card or any of your other listeners who have a business of any sorts, you look for talent around the world. You go on Indeed, LinkedIn, you go into the ether, the world of digital tools, and say, let's find the best talent we can as Jam Card.
Yeah.
So we're connecting a drummer and a keyboardist, and they need a sound tech. Great. Jam Card can help do that. Well, the same thing for schools. So we help schools connect with artists where they are, which is in the world. They're not walking down the street in front of an elementary school with a paper resume in hand looking for a job.
Yep.
And at the same time, we've tried to do with your help and Aloe and others is to say, okay, let's break down the component pieces by meeting people not only where they are literally or digitally, but in a sense of what is their knowledge base. So put it in language, because there are 1,037 school districts in the state of California.
Mr. Terrace Martin.
Hey.
How you doing, my
Back.
bro?
Part 2, Elmo.
Part 2, let's get it.
If you see me do a record with Kendrick Lamar and playing sax, it's because I need to put that in the atmosphere with Travis or YG or just me doing just whatever. I'm just trying to make sure shit stay on track or shit don't get off track too far. You know, just I'm here on earth to always maintain a balance.
Well, especially the work you did with Kendrick, most notably for Free and everything. That was so, I mean, it was jazz driven, right? It was musician driven.
Yeah. Well, it was the blues, you know, and the blues. No, there's no other way to really paint that particular picture unless you have other human beings that breathe doing that. You know, you can't do the blues with Ableton. I mean, you could do something that sounds like it,
right?
But emotionally, to pull the emotion and spiritually to shift things inside of a human, that could only be done by other humans. Oh. Yeah, I've never toured with anybody I haven't produced a record for.
Right.
That was always my thing. I'm not going on the road unless I have more stock into the brand.
Right.
You know, which is being a songwriter.
For sure.
If I got stock in the brand, then what most people say, the weekly pays and things, I look at it completely different because instead of a renter, I'm now an owner of something.
Right.
You know?
I love that, man. You're not a hired musician on stage. You're a feature because you're also producing it.
And I always had the studio. I was the only one that would bring the camera.
Yep.
And have a studio on the back of the bus.
Nice.
You know what I'm saying? So I was able to do a lot of records with Snoop for years on the back of the bus.
Snoop, Kendrick, Dinner Party did incredibly.
Yeah.
R plus R equals Now I Loved.
Yeah.
Obviously now your solo stuff with Drones. Even you with Leon.
Yeah.
With Ricky Reed. I know you and Ricky.
Shout out to Ricky Reed. Oh man,
yeah.
He's the cat.
What would you say is one of the greatest lessons you've learned from Herbie?
He's taught me that you could find beauty within every problem.
I love that.
You could find beauty within every problem. One more time. You could find beauty within every problem. And what that means, just to get a light example, got to give these examples.
Of course.
A light example is if you going out for an audition for a gig. This is light. It's bigger examples I could give, but this is for musicians. You get in the car, maybe MD in this gig, or maybe on this gig, you ain't got no rent, you ain't got none of this, you broke. You spent your last getting to this, or whatever the case is. You have no money, you don't feel believed in, and you feel like something is tangible right there that can help you in your life. It's just right there, but then you don't get it.
Someone that's done it all, it's kind of even hard to start. I don't know where to start. I was like thinking, what do I want to talk about? There's so many things. There's all the credits from his work with Dre, Snoop, Eminem, Alicia Keys, the early days with Stevie Wonder, the family ties with Stevie Wonder, the clap stack, like my favorite cymbal ever invented. Definitely one of the most revolutionary symbols of.
Thank you.
I mean, since the hi-hat. Trevor Lawrence Jr.
So it's a weird thing with us, drummers get a little bit typecast. You know what I'm saying?
For sure. And now you've been on all these albums as a producer.
Yeah.
Done all these hits, and you're still drumming, and you'll even be drumming with Herbie Hancock.
Yeah. Well, you know what? That right there was probably one of the highlights.
Gotta
you know what I'm saying? Because I was done touring at that point. I was literally done. I had just built a studio and a whole complex out of Valencia, and we were all, it was all just, my kids were young. I was in that mode, the 5 mile life.
Yeah,
Dropped them off at school, go to the studio. And I swear to you, I got this call Email. It was an email. I'll never forget. I went to the computer and I just saw a random email like availability, Herbie Hancock. What the hell? No way. Let me look and see. What? I told my wife, I said, babe, I can't even, so literally, bro, we moved there, like everything got solidified and we moved like October, and I was out like October 15th or something like that. I wasn't even in the house a month and I was out, and my first run with him, which was only supposed to be, and by the way, it's because of Greg. Greg referred me. So, because Vinny, Vinny couldn't make it for whatever reason. Greg referred me, and it was 2 months in the winter in Europe, and that was my first run. And it was supposed to just be that, then it ended up being 10 years.
See, and we got such a small world, because even then 2 nights ago, Bass was in the studio with Dre and Puff.
Right.
And Snoop,
come on.
See, and he's from Beirut.
Man, that's still this.
Let's get to LA.
It's unbelievable, bro.
Dreams are coming true.
Yeah, you could have easily seen me over there. So it's like, it's just.
That would have been great. Well, next time you will, because he's worked with Snoop too, because he works with Scott Storch too.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
I know you. Yeah.
That's another, whole period. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like Scott working with him in Miami on like Brooke Hogan and, that whole thing. And, we met doing SNL, like when he did Still Dre, It's a small circle, man, and you know what? It just pays to be cool with everybody.
Yeah.
Everything's not going to go your way every time, and you could pack up and go home, or you could just stay for the great times. You know what I'm saying? And I choose to stay for the great times and keep the relationships. So that's just what it is, man. I've never consciously tried to do anybody dirty. I've never been sued and never had to sue anyone.
Amazing.
That's my goal. That's success to me.
Go. Let's go.